first start out by doing a little information search and evaluation. One of the first things I want to do is I want to get to know the horse. Stand up close to the horse, talk to the horse a little bit, see that the horse is a little more comfortable, and I want to talk to the owner and I want to know what the owner's expectations are for what we're going to do today. So what's your horse used for?
An event horse.
An event horse. And what level of eventing are you used to doing?
Prelim.
And how is Brody at that?
It's pretty good. You know, he has a few little hitches here and there, but as a whole, he gets through it pretty good.
All right. And the type of environment that Brody's going to be working in?
He has a sand arena that he works in when he's training, and then obviously the cross-country courses, depending on where they are at.
All right.
Compete.
So traction might be a concern that you have, and
Yes.
keeping them upright, both front and hind.
Exactly.
All right. And so when I'm going to work on a horse, I want to evaluate the horse, and it's best for me to walk around the horse and 10 to 15 feet away and look at the horse. And I'm going to look at his muscling and see if it's consistent on the right to the left, and I might run my hands over to feel how that is. I'm going to stand back and look, and remember, Brody's a little relaxed, so he's got his leg up and he's standing in a relaxed position. So we're going to take in the information that we get by walking around him and compile it all together and not open up and say anything until we've done that. And when I'm looking at Brody, I want to see if the muscling is uniform on the top, because that'll tell me if he's using his limbs in a similar manner. And I'm going to run my hands down and feel how that is. And that also comforts the horse a little bit too, give him a pat once in a while. I'm going to look at the stance in his legs and which one is forward and which one is back. That'll give me an indication of maybe there's a soreness or a lameness. I'm going to pick up the limbs in the natural range of motion. I'll let him know I'm here. I'm going to push his weight over a little bit. Here we go, Brody. Put my shoulder into his shoulder, reach down. Now just give him a little twist at the fetlock and pick that up in the natural range of motion. I'm going to look down that limb and just eye down it, and I see that he goes in a little bit at the fetlock, and he may have a little rotation there. I can see that the frog points in towards. I'm going to look at the wear pattern on that shoe, because that's very important when I'm defining what I'm going to put on him next time. I see he has a little more wear over on the outside corner here and on the outside or lateral heel. Just going to take this information into consideration as I move around the horse. I'm also going to look back at his hoof pastern angle. Is he broken back, meaning his heels are low? There's a broken back angle here. Is he broken forward? He has quite a low heel there. He has a little more foot to the medial side or inside than he has on the outside or the lateral side. Again, just taking this information into consideration when we're going to define what type of shoe we're going to put on him. I reach down. I'm going to stay close to him, run my hand down his leg, kind of pull on his fetlock and cup the bottom of that foot. And then when I walk back, I'm going to walk back slowly in the natural range of motion. Just kind of put my knee underneath his hock. And I'm going to look down that limb and evaluate that limb. Goes in a little bit at the fetlock, pretty straight. He's knocked down the outside quarter here. The outside is worn more than the inside or the medial side. I'm going to flex the limbs a little bit too when I'm doing that, see if there's any pain or any resistance. And then when I set that foot down, I'm going to walk forward and just set it down there. Give him a pat and move around to the other side. When I'm working on a horse, I want to make sure that the environment that I'm in is safe. There's no pitchforks or rakes leaning up against the walls, no loud noises or crashing going on. The horse is comfortable. I have a fantastic handler that knows exactly what to do and how to keep the horse in the proper position. Again, I'm going to pick that foot up and look down. I see that he's worn pretty hard on the outside here. The inside is flared just a little bit. I'm looking down the limb, looking at the deviation. It looks like there's a couple. From the fetlock he goes in, but then from the coffin joint he goes out again on this limb. Again, I'm going to walk forward a little bit. When I'm out of up alongside of him, then I'll let that foot down and go to the forelimb. I'm going to pick that up here. I'm going to look for any defects in the hoof wall. He's got a false quarter here, or an old crack. He also goes in a little bit at the fetlock, and then it looks like he goes in a little more at the coffin joint. He's got a high heel here, a little lower here. And when he stands, he's quite base narrow, meaning his hooves are closer together than he is up here at the chest. So he's going to land hard on the outside of those hooves with his deviations and with his stance. Before I go any further, I'm also going to lift those limbs in the natural motion going forward. So as a farrier, I often pick up the front hooves and take them forward in order to finish that hoof off. To finish my clinching, I'll just pick that up and take it in the natural range of motion. And if we look down this limb, we can see he goes out a little bit at the knee and then in at the fetlock and possibly in a little more down here, plus rotation. We can see a lot of those changes if we lift it up in the natural range of motion. Don't pull it out to the side or take it too far in, but it gives you some indications as to why this horse might be wearing the way he's wearing, or if there's any old injuries or pathologies, scars from where he's been into a fence, atrophy, say the muscle isn't as large on one side as it is on the other. All indicators that we need to take into consideration. Again, I'll pick this up and look down that limb. This limb is a little more bench, meaning where the radius comes into the knee, the cannon bone comes out to the side a little bit, goes out a little bit further. We have more angulation on this limb than we had on the other. And I'll do that with the hind limbs too. It's going to give me another view of the deviations or just how that limb is put together. Also with the flexion, I can see if there's any resistance or any pain there. And when I look at his hind limbs, I see that Brody's pretty straight in the stifles, a very important factor. And you'll see that his left hind is a little more upright, a little more worn in the toe than his right hind. A horse that has some stifle pain will wear more in the toe. A horse that has some hock pain will wear more to the outside heel. And it's possible for him to have a little bit of both, but I see that his left hind is worn more in the toe than his right hind. Gives me an indication that maybe his stifle is a little sore there. I'm not diagnosing, I'm just taking this information, and I'm going to use it when I'm defining the type of the shoe. On his right hind, you'll see that he's worn more to the outside. I might look for bumps or swellings in the hock. And as a farrier, I'm going to know very soon, if I'm working on this horse on a regular basis, if he has any issues, because there'll be resistance that I didn't feel last time that I showed up to go to work on him. All right, once I've made my evaluation in a stance phase, or as a horse is standing, then I like to take them in a level surface and give him a walk, maybe a trot, to get an indication of his movement and how he travels. My eyes aren't good enough to see exactly what goes on, especially if a horse trots. But at a walk, I can see how this horse is traveling, whether the hooves are going in a straight line, whether he's paddling or winging out, whether he's coming in, rope walking, walking close together. All factors that I need to evaluate when I'm defining my type of shoe. Why? Because if they have a great gait abnormality, there are a few things that I can do with the shoes, or choices of factory-made shoes that I can use to help this horse out so that the horse doesn't interfere with itself.